Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me say, first of all, welcome, Secretary Rubio. I hope that you look forward to working with us, not only because you have to, but also because you want to. And I keep wondering how it is for you to be on the other side of the dais. But we're very happy to have you in the position that you are. I do want to follow up and talk with you about the global health programs. I obviously share the goal of evaluating programs, reforming them to root out wasteful spending, reduce overhead costs, even question whether or not a particular program has achieved its objective and is no longer needed. However, I'm also mindful that U.S. international assistance plays a key role in helping us to respond to humanitarian crises, fight the spread of deadly diseases like Ebola, and project soft power. And that's why I'm concerned that the president's budget request proposes a cut of 62% below the enacted level of 2025 for global health programs. Are you concerned that if we cut back by that amount, that China is going to step in and pick up the terminated USAID health programs, particularly in Southeast Asia?
Well, let me first say China has no history in the past or even now. I know that there's been some talk about this, but they really have demonstrated no willingness or capability to deliver humanitarian aid at scale to anyone. Their aid is largely driven by loans, sometimes low interest or no interest loans, but nonetheless loans, and in other times interest, traditional loans to trap nations. They also give you the money so that you hire their companies to do the work. But on the space of humanitarian, they are not a major player. As I said, even on humanitarian assistance, the United States dwarfs the next 9 or 10 countries on the list in terms of what we provide. And we intend for that to continue, and that as part of this budget. We'll obviously work with you to find what the number needs to be to fit the need. But I can tell you that one of the reasons why the number is so stark is because the reductions that happened at USAID transferred some of these programs over under state. And so now we have to accommodate that within our overall budget. And so we'll have to work with the committee to find out what the right number is to fit the need. But I will say that it cannot be, no matter what, I think we are living in a time where it's essential that we recognize that this is not a time of largesse. We are going to have to, in my view, to limit how much we spend in general as a government, given the fact that just a few days ago we saw a downgrade to our debt. These are problematic things, and other nations need to step up and do more. It is frustrating to me to see how much money we invest in certain countries, albeit on what we term humanitarian or global health. But when you look at the other side of the ledger, all the business deals, all the critical mineral deals, all their votes at the United Nations are all aligned with China or Russia or Iran. And so I do think that has to be taken into account here. We are humanitarians. We cannot solve all of the world's humanitarian problems. There are many. We can contribute it, and we'll continue to be the largest contributor in the world. But I do think how we allocate the limited resources of our government has to somehow be viewed through the lens of the benefit to the United States, certainly in the mid to long term.
The administration also included Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, in its list of terminated programs. And you've always been a very strong advocate for that program, which has resulted in 1.1 billion children being immunized and averted more than 18 million deaths. And I would point out that the United States is not the largest donor. We actually rank third behind the United Kingdom and the Gates Foundation. But without the U.S. doing what it's traditionally done in this program, Gavi will be unable to vaccinate 75 million of the 500 million children it traditionally has reached every year. And I'm really concerned that that's going to lead to preventable deaths like tuberculosis and pneumonia. So I think about how the Defense Department always due to our law, has each of these services give us a list of unfunded priorities. Would that be on your personal list of an unfunded priority?
Well, first of all, we still are doing vaccines. We are still doing vaccines for malaria, for example. We're still doing tuberculosis. We're still doing AIDS funding as well. What we have done is we are reviewing our relationship with a number of multinational, multilateral institutions across the board because many of them have strayed from their core purpose, the World Health Organization being one of them, which I personally view did a very poor job in the early days of COVID as an example. So we're also working closely with HHS to identify alternatives to some of these existing multilateral organizations that we think could end up helping us provide the aid we provide, reach more people for less money, in essence, in a more efficient way. So we'll clearly include that in our work that we're doing. I'm not prepared to tell you whether we've identified today what those alternative entities would look like, but we definitely want to find one. This is the kind of aid we want to continue to provide, but not through the existing mechanisms that we have found wanting in many cases.
Thank you.